The wind howled through the barren fields, whispering secrets to the skeletal trees. The village of Hollowbrook had long been abandoned, its wooden houses rotting, its streets empty, and its stories buried under dust and time. But in the heart of this forgotten land stood an ancient, twisted tree, a witness to countless forgotten cries. Beneath its gnarled branches, a frail white cat prowled, its ribs visible through thin fur. Starvation clung to its small body like a curse. The sky threatened rain, but the cat had no shelter, no warmth, only the hunger gnawing at its insides like a cruel beast. It spotted something above, a glimmer of hope. A tattered rope, swinging in the breeze, had remnants of what smelled like food. Perhaps, just perhaps, if it climbed high enough, it could taste something other than dust. The fall into darkness. With trembling paws, the cat placed one foot on the rough bark and began its ascent. Tiny claws dug into the tree's cracked surface, its tail swayed to keep balance. Higher and higher it climbed, determined to reach the prize. But fate is a cruel storyteller. As it leaped towards the rope, its hind legs slipped. The loop of the rope, coiled like a waiting serpent, caught its delicate paw. A strangled yelp escaped its throat as the knot tightened, leaving it dangling midair. It thrashed, claws slicing through the air, its small body swinging violently. It screamed, a sound so raw, so desperate, that it should have shattered the silence. But silence is merciless. The abandoned village devoured its cries, leaving nothing but the eerie whisper of the wind. Night fell, cold and unfeeling. The cat's struggles weakened. Its breath came in shallow gasps, its vision blurred. Stars blinked above, indifferent to its suffering. It was fading, slipping into a darkness deeper than the night itself. A stranger's arrival. Morning brought more than just light, it brought a wanderer. Ethan Carter, a weary traveler, had lost his way. His boots crunched against the brittle earth as he trudged through Hollowbrook, drawn to its eerie silence. His past was heavy, his mind clouded with memories he wished to forget. He had no destination, no purpose, just endless roads and a heart too tired to hope. But then, he saw it. Dangling from the twisted branches of the old tree was a small, motionless form. A dead thing, perhaps. But then it moved. A weak, shivering motion. A gasp left Ethan's lips as he sprinted forward. His hands trembled as he reached up, fingers working desperately to untangle the cruel knot that held the cat captive. The moment its tiny body fell into his arms, he felt it, a faint heartbeat, fragile yet determined. "You're alive," he whispered, as if saying it would make it truer. The cat barely stirred, its breath shallow, its fur cold against his skin. Without another thought, Ethan pulled it close, cradling it against his chest. The fire of hope. Ethan found shelter in one of the decaying houses. He gathered whatever scraps he could find, an old blanket, a rusted lantern, some dry wood. The fire he built flickered weakly at first, then grew stronger, casting shadows that danced across the broken walls. With careful hands, he wrapped the cat in warmth, feeding it drops of water from his canteen. It remained still, its tiny body limp, but Ethan refused to give up. He had lost too much in his life, he wouldn't lose this fragile life too. Hours passed. Then, finally, a miracle. A tiny paw twitched. A soft whimper escaped its lips. Its eyes, golden like the dying sun, fluttered open. Relief crashed over Ethan like a wave. He exhaled a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. "Hey there, little fighter," he murmured, stroking its frail head. "You're safe now." The ghosts of the past. As the cat regained its strength, Ethan found himself unwilling to leave. The village that once felt haunted now felt different. It wasn't just an abandoned ruin, it was a place where something had fought to survive. Where a tiny life had refused to be forgotten. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Night after night, as the wind howled outside, he found himself talking to the cat. He told it about the roads he had walked, the people he had lost, the mistakes he could never undo. And in return, the cat listened, curled up against him, its warmth a silent promise that he wasn't the only lost soul in this world. But the past is not so easily silenced. One evening, as the fire crackled softly, Ethan heard something. A whisper, faint yet unmistakable. "Help me." His blood turned to ice. He turned, scanning the shadows, his pulse pounding. The house was empty. The village was deserted. And yet, the voice had been real. The cat stirred in his lap, its ears perked, as if it had heard it too. The wind outside howled, and for the first time, Ethan wondered, had the cat truly been the only soul crying for help that night? Determined to know the truth, Ethan began exploring. He searched the other houses, uncovering remnants of a life long lost, photographs of families, children's toys covered in dust, letters never sent. And then, in the attic of one forgotten home, he found it. A diary. The final entry, written in trembling ink, sent a chill through his bones. "We are leaving. But she's still out there. Her cries echo in the night. No one dares to listen. No one dares to look. The tree has claimed her. And soon, it will claim us all." Ethan felt the weight of the words pressed down on him. Had there been another? A soul who had cried out for help and never been heard? Was the cat the only one who had survived, or was it just another voice in a chorus of forgotten pleas? That night, as he sat beside the fire with the cat nestled in his arms, he looked toward the twisted tree, its branches swaying under the weight of unseen burdens. And for the first time, he whispered back into the night, "I hear you." Conclusion, a new beginning. When morning came, Ethan knew his journey wasn't over. He couldn't leave Hollowbrook, not yet. There were stories buried here, whispers waiting to be heard. And maybe, just maybe, saving one small life wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning.